Hey, welcome back to the Step Out and Thrive podcast with me, Bethany Joy. And let's make sure that you are in the right place. If you are like most of us, you are trying to do relationships whether that's relationships with others, whether that's relationship with yourself, whether it's relationship with God, unless unless you're in a hermit and you're by yourself, but even when you're by yourself, you're still in relationship with what's going on in yourself. So really, nobody's exempt from this. And if you want to get better at these relationships, whether it's with your kids, whether it's with ministry leaders, whether it's with clients, you are in the right place, because we want to do more than just survive in the relationships that God has given us. We want to thrive and do amazing things with what He's given us. With that being said, I'd love to continue the series that we're in. So many of y'all love the series that we're in with Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 through 33. And if you're going, Bethany, what is Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 through 33? Well, let me tell you, I'm glad you asked. Matthew chapter 14, 22 through 33 is actually the story of Jesus and Peter walking on the water. And we spent the last, 7 weeks on this. And people are like, my pastor covers that whole section in like a sermon, and you're spending 7 weeks on it. Like, how? Well, because I encourage us to savor and sit with all the richness, with all the amazing leadership principles that are in this. So I want to invite you to do that today. And where we stopped last week is, I laugh at this because so many of the guys, and keep in mind, I'm a mom of all boys, so that's probably where, all this comes from. But so many of the guys see this moment as when Peter sank, right? This big splash happens and Peter's like, no. And all this stuff happens, like all this just crazy stuff at the moment. We talked about how we didn't know how that happened, but we talked about part of leadership is being okay with the idea of sinking, with the okay of things not going as planned, because that's kind of what we have to accept. That's what we have to walk out. We don't go necessarily expecting that, but we go because we know that Jesus is with us, and that relationship is so important. So today, what I want to cover is, we know what happens next, right? Peter's sinking, and I'm guessing the disciples on the boat are just like, what is happening right now? Or, he gone, see you, Peter. I don't know what they're like. I don't know how they're reacting. But Jesus, it says, immediately reaches down, grabs Peter by the hand and said, you of little faith, why did you doubt? Now, I'm not going into all of that right now. I can take a deeper dive into that. But what I want to really focus on is Jesus reaches out his hand to Peter. And Peter reaches out his hand and grabs Jesus' hand as he lifts him up out of the water. There are so many times when we go through relational confusions, relational just disaster, storms, right? Sinking moments where we know that we're sinking and Jesus is reaching out his hand and we're just like, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to forgive that person. They don't deserve their forgiveness. Or I'm not really ready to accept this radical acceptance about what's going on right now. I'm just going to live in this moment of just being just isolated by myself. I don't know if you've ever had that moment. I've had several of those wonderful moments in my life, and I had to walk through it, and it was very challenging. In fact, the forgiveness part for me has been one of the biggest, most healing, most hardest, most gut-wrenching, heart-shattering processes that I've ever had to walk through my entire life. So you're going, Bethany, how can it be healing and yet heart-shattering at the same time? Because it's more than just a moment. It's a process that I believe Jesus has brought me through. Because there have been many people in my life that have hurt me in so many ways, but I've also noticed as I've gone through this process that there's many people that I've hurt in the same thing. And here's the thing about forgiveness that's amazing, is that forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for us. Let that sink in. Forgiveness is for us. I can forgive somebody and they might not even know it. Like, I don't have to go to them and say, hey, by the way, I forgave you. And they're like, oh, thank you so much. I was stuck in this turmoil. No, Most likely, most of those people don't even know that they've done damage. They've kind of walked on with their life. There's probably people right now that I've hurt that I have no clue. No clue that I've hurt. And I'm not hindered by that. I don't mean that in a bad way. But I'm not sitting there going every day like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I caused him all this pain. Like, I don't know. It's not something that we talk about. I've moved on. Maybe they haven't. So reverse that. And if you're sitting with somebody right now that you were just like, I mean, you replay that moment again and again and again, and you are under that water of that replay and that continual story. And Jesus is reaching out his hand. It's like, I can walk you through forgiveness. And you're like, heck to the no. I am not ready, right? That's the moment that I want to talk about today, because this is huge in relationships. And I feel like I could probably do a whole series, and I might, because there's been a lot of you all that have come to me and asked me about forgiveness in that process. And so I might actually do a study on that, or maybe I'll do a group. We'll see. Y'all let me know. Is anybody interested in doing a group about forgiveness, or should I do a series about it? Let me know. But this is what I want to bring to you today, is that when we decide to reach our hand and grab Jesus' hand going, I know that I need out of this spot because I'm not able to be close with you. And it's not necessarily the fact that I'm underneath the water. It's that I'm farther away from you. And I know that you are reaching down and you want me to be with you so much that I'm willing to go through that I'm willing to trust you, that I'm willing to go almost to the unknown, because I know that I can trust you. I know that you've got me. And here's the other thing. We're not doing anything on our end. We're literally trusting him to bring us up. It's not going to feel like amazingly great, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to hurt, and it's not going to make sense, but he will be with us. And it is one of those moments that we get to decide if we're really going to trust that he is who he says he is. There's a lot more that I could talk to you about that, but all of us have had these moments where, again, we found ourselves in a similar situation as Peter, where we didn't necessarily expect this to happen. We could blame it on so many other people, but the fact is that we are now underneath the water and we're sinking. And Jesus has got his hand out there. And it's up to us whether or not we're going to grab it. You can blame everybody and everything else, but here's the moment. Here's where you're at. Are you going to take Jesus' hand? Or are you going to choose to stay there? Because the one that is really hurting is you. And so I wanted to bring this out because I know so many people that, and including myself, have spent a lot of time underneath the water instead of walking on top of the water. And Jesus wants us walking on top of the water. He knows that we're going to sink, but he also knows that he's going to be with us the entire time. We learn lessons under the water that we can use on top of the water, and that we can use to invite other people onto the water with us and with Jesus. And we can guide other people into that relationship. So there's benefits to it, but I don't know about y'all, but I'm called to be above the water. I'm called to walk on the water. And so as much as I am down underneath, I don't want to spend all my time down there. I want to learn from those experiences, and I want to walk on top of the water with Jesus. So I don't know what you're taking away from today, because there's so many different layers. I don't know if you're stuck in that whole forgiveness idea, like, oh, wow, like I never thought about that. Like I almost thought by not forgiving, I could just kind of hold that other person hostage and somehow it would like hurt them. It doesn't. And I know that's a huge reality for some people, because that made me really angry actually for a while when I realized that. I also didn't realize that I was sinking and I was stuck. I thought that for some reason that, if I didn't forgive, that somehow I still had control. Somehow I still had value. And Jesus told me I had value in just walking through that forgiveness, because he cared so much for me that he wanted me to be free. I don't know if you've realized that maybe this is the first time that his hand has been reaching out and you've just been like, no. That maybe today is the first day that you really want to take his hand. And you may not know what all that's going to entail, but you're wanting to get out of the place that you're in. All of that's relationships, friends. And regardless of where you are and all of that, here's the cool part. You're not alone because he is with you. Isn't that amazing that he is with us no matter what we go through? I think it's just amazing to know that we have a relationship like that we get to be in a relationship like that he wants us that much. So sit with that. I hope this has been beneficial to you. And as always, you can grab the interactive appreciation workbook, which really helps you define your relationship with Jesus and listen to him and see his fingerprints in your everyday. And so you can grab that at thrivewithbethany.com. You can also find out other resources at bethanyjoy.fyi. And you can get that at any time. And I'd love to hear from you. I know I've mentioned several curious comments during this episode. So if you have anything else to say, please email me, bethany@stepoutandthrive.com, or you can find any of my information at bethanyjoy.fyi. Dare to do more than just survive. Go ahead and grab Jesus' hand and step out and thrive. See you guys next week. Bye.